Hello and welcome to Read with Pride, a podcast focused on LGBTQIA plus literature brought to you by the Ocean County Library's Ocean Pride Committee.
Hi, I'm Frank. I use he, they pronouns.
Hi, I'm Lexi. I use she, her pronouns.
And we're your new hosts for the Read with Pride podcast.
Woo!
And today we're going to be talking about Proud Picture books with two lovely guests.
Hello, I'm Sam. I use they, them pronouns.
Hi, I'm Meg. I use she, they.
So, why did you volunteer to throw yourself into the fire for today's episode?
I'd say since college, I've been obsessed with banned books and censorship, specifically when it comes to queer books.
Mm-hmm.
And so the last, let's say, 15 years of seeing so many books published has warmed my heart and also has helped me work through things with children in my life. And honestly, I find myself reading them and tearing up because these are messages that I wish that I got as a child.
Oh, absolutely. I hear you on that one. I so often will wander over to the picture book displays in my library and I'll be like, oh, this is so beautiful. And then I'll pick it up and I'll be crying.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Good cry.
Good cry.
But public cry.
Public cry. I'll just be like, it's just so beautiful. Sam, my dear, same question.
Yes. Real quick, I also cry at children's books. I just took down a Mr. Rogers display and I read through some of them.
Oh,
and
man.
...
Fun fact, he was bi.
Real life?
Yes.
Real life.
Oh,
Real.
What a king.
So,
Bisexual
represent.
icon.
Bicon, really.
So I chose this because I work in children's services or youth services, and it's just nice to see all the books. I take them out anew and everything, and I'll see a book, and it's like, you're a little guy, and I'm gonna read you, and I'm gonna in-house you because you deserve it.
You're so right.
It's May. I just wanted to take a moment of gratitude for Frank and Lexi taking over. And I wanted to read one of my favorite Shel Silverstein poems that has guided me since I was about 13. So, when the light is green, you go. When the light is red, you stop. But what do you do when the light turns blue with orange and lavender spots? This has spoken to me as a queer anthem throughout my life of but what do? I don't fit into X or Y, so let's improvise. It's super positive message, but thank you for taking on this endeavor, this journey.
As we yes and our way through a podcast.
Yep.
All right, well, that was a beautiful poem. Thank you for sharing. So I'm going to start off our podcast by talking about some fun picture books. As a bit of background, I was a children's librarian for many years, and these books are both books that I used in my story times. So the first book I have is called Bathe the Cat, and it's by Alice McGinty and illustrated by David Roberts. This book is the epitome of chaos. It is so chaotic, and I love it. When I read this, the kids were so into it because you didn't know what was going to happen next. The whole book is based around this family. It's two dads, they're people of color, we have an adopted child, we have pets going on, there's a lot going on. And the whole book is these two parents are getting ready for their grandmother to come over. They're trying to get everything done in the house, and meanwhile, they're trying to bathe the cat. The cat obviously does not want to get bathed, as anyone who's ever been around a cat knows. So the whole book revolves around trying to do these tasks. It's super fun. The colors on this book are gorgeous. They are kind of neon, but not in the obnoxious way.
They look kind of risographed. Like that kind of style of printing.
Ooh.
Yeah. It's very fun. So whenever I read this in my story time for Pride Month, it was really captivating for kids because it is so chaotic. There's a lot of voices going on. There's a lot of tasks. So there's a lot of interaction for kids and a lot of spaces where you can incorporate fun voices and ask the kids different questions. So I would highly recommend this book if you are looking for something fun and just kind of silly and not so serious. I wouldn't recommend this book for bedtime because it is pretty,
Rambunctious.
yeah, that's a good word, rambunctious. Definitely a, like, wake up kind of book. So that's the one that I would recommend first, which is, again, Bathe the Cat by Alice McGinty and David Roberts.
Perfect for story time.
Perfect for story time.
Terrible for bedtime.
Yeah, it's not a snooze. Don't read it for that. And then the second book I have that was kind of a more fun story time book is called Mama and Mommy and Me in the Middle. And it is by Nina LaCour and Kaylani Juanita. It is so cute. So it's very modern. Like, it looks very, like, updated. You know, it's not that, like, older style of picture book where it's, I don't know. Like, do you guys see what I mean? It's more
This
interesting.
is much more...
It's got a bohemian vibe to it.
Yeah.
I was going to say,
It's
this does
modern.
not look like something published by Jan Brett. Nor does it look very Eric Carle.
No. And that's what I mean, because when you look at picture books, you see authors that use a lot of, like, vague shapes, certain colors, a lot of, like, specific movements with things and how they come across the page. This one is way more updated. It is a lot more inclusive than any, I think, like, classic picture book would be. And it's super cute.
What makes it inclusive, Lexi?
There's so many things. So many. So some of the things that make this inclusive is that we, of course, have two moms in this book. We have one of the moms being a woman of color, and she also happens to have a birthmark, which is really interesting, and her daughter has it as well, where you can kind of see she has a patch of white hair up front and some different pigmentation on her forehead, and it's really cute. Her daughter has it too, and it kind of adds to the overall message of being accepted, being different, but also being inclusive. And like I said, the art is gorgeous. It's the story about this girl who is very sad when one of her moms has to go away for a work trip.
Messed up.
I know. How dare she work in this capitalistic world? And kind of just all the things that the daughter does with the other mom to kind of, you know, soothe her and kind of make it through the week. It's super cute. The thing I think that kids would like about this is that it's very ordered in a way that's like, Thursday we did this, Friday we did this. So it does have that rhythm that kids like, but it's also really exciting because it mentions, like, things that are popular now or things that are newer. It's a really cute, inclusive book, and it's not boring. And I think the pictures alone would draw parents in, especially, you know, if you're looking for books that are a bit more updated. But yeah, so it's very cute. Illustrations are great. It's not too heavy on language. It was a very enjoyable read. And this one you could read for bedtime or story time. It's good either way. It is fun, but there is, like, a soothing element to it. Yeah, Sam, you have a question.
It looks like if Times New Roman was an art style. That's just at least how it feels to me.
I don't know what that means.
I would...
I don't...
It has a
No.
Heather Has Two Mommies vibe to me, but like
updated. Yeah, so this book is great. And it also deals with difficult feelings. So, you know, when kids kind of are experiencing things for the first time, like disappointment or anger, and they don't exactly know how to express it, this book does a really good job of kind of handling that in a way that's very realistic and not overcomplicated. So yes, I would highly recommend also reading Mama and Mommy and Me in the Middle by Nina LaCour and Kaylani Juanita. Very cute book. All right, well, we are going to move on, and we are going to talk about some new books.
I will say, for the matter of record, that every book that we're talking about has been published within the last 3 to 5 years. So I think they can all be a little new. But today, the new book that I will be talking about first is Are You a Friend of Dorothy? The true story of an imaginary woman and the real people she helped. written by Mykaell Lukoff and illustrated by Levi Hastings. So, Are You a Friend of Dorothy? Is all about the history of the phrase friend of Dorothy, which has been used by LGBT folks to kind of casually signal to each other, hi, are you a member of this community? I'm also a member of this community, but without putting yourself in danger by maybe immediately identifying yourself as part of a group.
Right. I was going to say it's like kind of like a safe code switch. Like you can say this to someone and not be putting yourself in a dangerous situation.
It's kind of like a much lower stakes version that I always think of is back in the 2010s. If you were on Tumblr.
Who remembers? I was a Tumblr girl.
Hey, I like your shoelaces.
Oh my god.
Thanks, I got them from the president.
Yeah!
It has been years, guys.
And now everyone else has to hear that too. So, Are You a Friend of Dorothy talks about how people are always seeking to find connection, find community, and that it used to be very dangerous to be openly LGBTQ, and people still found ways to find their people and come together and not only celebrate the community that was found, but I think this book also does a really good job of showing how silly sometimes tracking down a false flag can be. There is a large chunk of this book that talks about when undercover spies from the military were looking for gay service members and heard someone say, oh, are you a friend of Dorothy? Are they friends of Dorothy? That they started looking for an actual factual Dorothy who does not exist. I cannot stress that enough.
Sorry.
No.
And just to point out, in the book, they talk about we have no origin of the phrase. Like,
so it's not Wizard of Oz.
Some would say it was the Wizard of Oz.
Some may also say it's Dorothy Hastings, but she passed in like the 1920s.
I think it paints a really more complex picture of the LGBTQ plus history. I like that it talks about the ramifications, but I also, if you don't mind me reading this real quick, I know.
Reading
I know
in a library podcast? I'm so proud of you.
It does balance it out, and it says, but sometimes it's still harder to be LGBTQ. Some jobs might fire their queer employees for no reason, and some LGBTQ people have an extra hard time finding jobs in the first place. Some places have laws making it harder for transgender people to live openly as themselves, and in many communities it's still not safe to come out. So I like that it recognizes that it's not like, oh, everything's fixed. But it's gentle enough for a child to absorb that information.
It's a good intro.
Yeah. But I also wanted to read some of the quotes from the actual author.
Yeah, I think I have read other works by this author, and I really enjoy his work. Please.
If you're a kid like Gavin and one even became a brother, those are the brother one I really love. I appreciated in the back the author's notes, just talking about, he discusses the language shift. And he writes, but the words used to describe these people are as varied and diverse as the people themselves. Sometimes old words are rediscovered and used in a new way. It's okay to blend your knowledge of language today with how it was used back then. This book tries to honor both the reality of the past and the knowledge of the present, always with hope for the future. I just love that.
I love that a lot. And I think that hope is a really important theme in any book about the queer experience, because it has been hard. Things will continue to be hard.
And it ebbs and flows, too.
It ebbs and flows, and that's not a reason to give up.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the things that I really love about this book, it's so colorful.
Yeah.
There's a lot of contrast in the colors.
Yep.
The fonts are funky but legible. And the more queer the space is that's being portrayed. Yeah.
I was going to say, too, like, just from a, perspective with kids reading this book, talking about the colors and the shapes, like, the characters are drawn in a way that I think would be pretty appealing to kids.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it makes it not, like, it's not coming across as, like, boring or, like...
This is not Google corporate
No.
stock image. These are, like, very fun and funky
It
characters
is, yeah.
who... Honestly, I want to be friends with some of them.
Yeah.
They look like
the
they're
ones
having,
on the cover.
they're having such a good time.
Just saying.
Art style kind of reminds me of how like the '60s would talk about the future. If that makes sense.
Oh, I
You're
could
so
see that.
right.
I could see that, yeah.
Yeah. And then another new book that is incredibly near and dear to my heart is the Bi book. The Bi book is really mostly a book about words and vocabulary. It's, again, very bright, very colorful. It's very light on actual words, and there's a lot of focus on beautiful colored pencil illustrations. And it talks about how there are many words that start with bi that means 2. 2 years to wait for a plant to bloom as a biennial plant, which if you have kids who really love fun words, they're going to love that. More things that are familiar, like a bicycle, 2 feet to reach the top of the world, a biped. And the book talks about how there are also words that start with bi that can mean more than 2 instead of just 2. Because bi hearts love in a rainbow of ways. And we have bisexuality.
Oh, the drawings on here, the illustrations are great, too.
They're so pretty.
They're very soft, too, which I think is very appealing for kids, too.
Especially because this is a book with a lot of big words.
Yeah.
And that... Because, yeah, we have bicycle. We also have, like, bivalve, bilingual, bilateral symmetry.
Bivalve.
Bivalve.
Oh, my God.
2 shells to hug a gleaming pearl. Bivalve.
That's actually that's a pretty good, like,
That's a
simple description.
It's a good description.
Yeah.
I think bivalve and, like, bilateral symmetry, these are words that have a good mouthfeel. There is a glossary in the back.
Oh, I love a good glossary.
I love a glossary, and the fact that words mostly mean what you think they mean, and sometimes a word that you might think only means 2 can also mean more than 2. All right. The other thing that I really liked about the Bi book is that oftentimes with books that talk about LGBT stuff, there's a lot of discussion about the L, there's a lot of discussion about the G, and there's even a lot of discussion about the T.
Mm-hmm.
But there isn't always discussion about the B.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
This is one of the books that made me actually cry when I picked it up in the children's department, because I saw that and I was like, wow, they're talking about me.
And in such a gentle way.
And it's so cute.
Yeah.
Very beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a very simplistic way to, like, introduce kids to. It's not a lot. It's a very easy approach.
To prefixes and grammar.
At the end of the day, what are we talking about if not prefixes and grammar?
Hello, adventurers. If you enjoy this content, please take a look at the Ocean County Library's new podcast called Forge Your Imagination, a guide to immersive world building. This new podcast is dedicated to helping creative individuals design their own expertly crafted worlds for books, games, Dungeons & Dragons, and more. Tune in on the first Wednesday morning of every month to learn more. Thanks for listening, and safe travels, adventurers.
All right, well, thank you, Frankie. I'm going to get into the more educational books that we have, the more nonfiction. So the book that I have is Pink, Blue, and You by Elise and is a book that is not a book I would recommend for story time or a bedtime book, but this is definitely a great book as a resource for parents. They can talk about it with kids. It deals with gender stereotypes and all of the more obvious things like pink is for girls, trucks are for boys, and it's a really simplistic, really nicely illustrated and worded book just to answer some of those questions. So if your kid had questions, or if you wanted to introduce different topics and stereotypes to your kids, this does it in a very, how do I say, a very interesting way. It's not boring. It
introduces complex topics in a creative way.
Yes, there we go. Yeah, all of those things. Because a lot of times you have like gender stereotype books that are very factual and it's important, but it's not a draw for kids. They're going to tune out. They're not going to be able to really take it in.
So this isn't boring.
No, it is not boring. So good job to the author.
Interesting.
It is interesting. And it's very clever in some of the ways that they kind of bring in gender stereotypes. And definitely the illustrations are nice. It's very simple, like line drawings, like good color.
What are some of the interesting ways that they bring in gender stereotypes?
Sure. So, for instance, one of the ways they bring in gender stereotypes is they have a 2-page spread, and it says, look at these pictures. Are some for girls? Are some for boys? Are some for everyone? And then they have like a smattering of like, there's a soccer ball, a unicorn, a dinosaur, all of these things. And I think this would be the good part where you would sit with your kid and say like, pick out the ones that are for girls or for boys or whatever. And just go through and say, actually, these are for everyone. And it's drawn in like a really cute way. Like I think it would be appealing.
Mm-hmm. They look like stickers.
Yeah. They do.
And
they
if
look
there's
like stickers.
one thing I know about library patrons of all ages.
Stickers.
Everyone loves a sticker.
Yeah, I do love a sticker.
Bubbles too.
Oh,
Bubbles for sure. Yeah, so this is definitely really cute. Goes into the gender identity difference between gender identity and sexuality and sex. It's, what you anatomically are born as, but it goes over pronouns as well in a really, really fluid, really nice way. It's just a very good intro, I think, for kids to kind of have an understanding. Again, you're not going to read this at story time or really probably bedtime, but it is a good conversation starter with parents for kids, especially when you might not know how to broach some of these subjects or how to introduce them to kids. So this is a really good start for that. So yeah, this book offers a lot of great topics to start the conversation with. Once again, it is Pink, Blue, and You by Elise Gravel. And without further ado, we have one more educational book that I'm going to pass off now to May.
The next educational book that we're going to review, Sam and I will review, is called Rainbow Allies, The True Story of Kids Who Stood Against Hate. The words are written by Nancy Churnin and illustrated by Izzy Evans. Do you want to give a little recap of it?
Can do. So there's 3 kids that live in a neighborhood where everyone is welcome. When something bad happens to their neighbor's pride flag, these kids figure out what to do so everyone feels welcome again. I think this is a really cute and wholesome book. I really love the visuals. It kind of reminds me of like, not animatics, but like when you see the before on like a movie, you can kind of see like concept ideas.
Like a storyboard?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It reminds me of, like,
I get that. Yeah.
The way like each page flows to each another, and like I like how the whole book is very detailed, except on pages where like it seems like something important to the story is happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like on the page where the kids meet their neighbors and they get a pride flag, the page is completely white. And then when they see each other again and they're trying to figure out what to do after the pride flag gets taken down, it's all white again, and then it gets colored once they realize what they need to do.
So it has a good way of like emphasizing story beats.
Yes.
Which makes sense in that it's based on a true story.
Yes.
So, it sort of had a clear narrative from the get-go, if you will.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely bright imagery.
We have the kids, and they live in a neighborhood that they like because everyone is welcome.
Yes.
And then something happens that makes the kids feel like people, or that makes people feel like they aren't welcome. So like what You said this was based off of a true story.
Yeah.
Yes.
What can a kid do?
Gather all their friends, go to vendors, ask for free flags, go to any neighbor possible, encouraging them to put the flags up. And I will just, this is what I'm going to read on the thing, is the children waved goodbye to Carly and Lori, to each other, to everyone, glowing with pride as they biked, scootered, and walked home. The kids had done it. They had taken something broken and made it beautiful. Once again, their neighborhood was a place where everyone is welcome, where everyone is celebrated, where everyone helps each other.
And that again reminds me of Mr. Rogers. Like I said earlier, I love it a lot. Very cute. And just, I do like how in this book it looks like the author reached out to Kari and Lori, which is nice when books are based on real events, especially real events that involve like people's personal lives. People don't always like reach out. It's just, oh, I wrote this book, you know. So I think that's really nice. And the organization that they reached out to get free flags was the Rainbow Peace Flag Project. So I just wanted to shout out to them.
Yeah, and the book is beautifully done, like you were saying before, where, you know, how it looks. It is really beautiful, and it flows really well with the story. Like, it's very friendly and engaging and warm, and it's, I think, a really good visual for kids along with the story.
It looks very, like, every town. I think it's very easy to imagine yourself being, like, this is a book that has such like quintessential small town vibes that like a kid in Ocean County could be reading this and being like, oh, that looks like Tom's River. And it's very easy to like see yourself in this ragtag team of kids going and trying to make where they live better.
And to jump off of that, like even in the back they have a how to be an LGBTQ ally, which I appreciate because I don't know if y'all knew this, but allies are vital.
Absolutely.
To our operation. And we appreciate all the work that they do put in.
For a second, I really thought you were talking about Friends of the Library. I spaced out, and Friends of the Library also vital to
we could also use more of those,
Volunteer with your local library.
Please.
Ask us how. Yeah,
it definitely it doesn't feel like, it's definitely not a bedtime story book. It's very much like we said, an educational book. It's leaning more towards like something happens in your neighborhood and your kids have questions. This is the book you show them. This is the book you read with them and ask them about, like if they have any questions. Like it's a book you really like, you make time for.
That's a good way to put that.
Like it's
I think like with the book that I was talking about too, Pink, Blue, and You, like it's a conversation starter, you know, like you're not going to read this before bed or it's like a story time, but if you want to introduce kids to certain topics or ideas or different people, this is a good intro to that. Like it's a good jumping off point, especially for younger kids.
And it's nice that they have like the different flags. Of course, we love the classic rainbow, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple flag. But in the scene where they have the shop, they have different flags. Like they have the progressive one, asexual, lesbian. They even have the polyamorous flag on like a little pin. They have a poster for drag night. I'm glad that they like acknowledge different aspects of it outside of just the umbrella rainbow flag.
This book has a lot of like little Easter eggs. All of, honestly, the books that we've talked about have a lot of fun little details that they get lost a little in the audio format, that like I want to show everyone these books because they're all so cute.
They are, and I think what's good about what you just said, Frank, is that a lot of those little Easter eggs are good for parents because it will also keep you engaged. Like the adults reading this book will also be interested and kind of look at the pictures and be much more engaged.
It sparks curiosity, that's all I'll say.
Yeah, that's a good way to put that.
Oh yeah, and the shopkeep owner reminds me of Todd Chavez from BoJack Horseman. He's a character that is canonically asexual. I'm not sure if that was coincidental or anything, but I just think it's neat.
Alright, and now to close us out on our tour to picture books, we have May with our final selection of this podcast.
That is a lot of pressure, but I feel confident. So my final choice for this podcast is a favorite of mine called My Shape is Sam.
You're a Sam.
OMG, I'm a Sam.
You're the perfect shape because you're Sam.
Oh my gosh.
It's written by Amanda Jackson and illustrated by a friend of a friend, Lydia Nichols. And it's all about a square that, sees all those circles just rolling down hills and gets a little jealous of that. And so Sam starts rolling and rolling until, well, you'll see. I'm going to read a few excerpts from it. Sam had 4 even sides, 4 pointy corners, and like all other squares didn't roll or zoom on their own. They thump, thump, thumped from here to there. Most squares didn't mind at all, but Sam did. Sam liked to go fast. Fast was fun, but mostly he liked it because that's what circles did. And even though he had 4 pointy corners, Sam didn't really feel like a square. The more Sam rolled, the happier he grew. Sometimes others joined in, sometimes they just watched. And now and then someone asked, "Are you a circle or a square?" Sam wondered about that too. He was sturdy like a square, but he rolled like a circle. His edges finally felt like his own. And so he told them, "My shape is Sam."
Oh, I love that.
I think it's a really approachable, universal book.
Mm-hmm.
My own interpretation of it is that it has hints of non-binary themes to it. Maybe I'm just projecting, but I don't know. It's a really bright, minimalist book. The illustrations are just so simple and lovely. And even the smallest note, the pages are rounded. So it is just
like Sam.
So it's a sensory thing.
Yes.
It's truly lovely, but yeah, also I appreciate it because it's a little bit under the radar.
It doesn't say anything outright, and it can be a universal
story.
I was gonna say, like, the best part of this is that it's it's like your own story. Like, put yourself in that person's shoes, because you're right, it doesn't explicitly mention sexuality or identity. Like, it's very open-ended. Like, you can just slip into it and kind of just see yourself.
Yeah.
Which is good. You're right. And you're right. Like, the drawings are very approachable, very cute.
It's subtle.
And very non-identifying, like gendered. There's nothing,
I mean, even it's under the radar so much that I noticed it was shelved. I won't mention which branch, but I noticed that it was shelved under a category called shapes.
Shapes. Okay.
And that's not technically incorrect.
It's not incorrect, but
It's
for me,
not,
that
yeah.
message is everything I needed to hear as a kid.
In the book.
So yeah, that's one of my favorites. We have it in the library, as we do for all of these books. But
Yes, so a fun mention is that all of the books we are talking about in this podcast, we own, some in different formats from the library.
Yeah. And I just want to hear, finally, from the expert Sam-shaped Sam.
OMG.
What are your thoughts on this depiction of possibly you?
Oh, possibly me.
Yeah.
I wrote a book about me. They
They
didn't reach out to me.
I asked my friend to do it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So, I think it's definitely a good way to talk about how you relate to a group, but you're not, and you take steps to kind of be a part of that group, but you're not entirely 100% there, kind of like what you said with non-binary, but
It's
also
intersectional.
what you
Yeah.
said where it could be
Yeah.
about anything, where it's like you play with kids on a sports team, but you're not on the team, you just show up to have fun and you leave, or something like that.
Mhm.
Like, it's just like, I don't know, it's about like being there but not being 100% one way or the other.
Yeah, you're not confined or boxed in.
Yes.
I think,
Boxed in. Ha ha ha.
I think my
Shape joke.
favorite part is that at the end it was a triangle asking, "Are you a circle?" I want to know. I need to know more about this shaped-based society.
I know.
Where's the lore
Yeah.
book? We need a lore
I
book.
do need a lore book. Amanda Jackson, please respond.
If you're listening, we have
The
questions.
follow-up book about triangles.
I would love that.
I will talk to my friend.
Yeah.
And if you're interested in any of these books, as Lexi said, we have these all at the library. All of the titles are going to be in the description of this episode. And if after that you're like, I need even more. Well, on the library's website, you can find the Ocean Pride Committee's picture book list, which has been updated to include a selection of 30 Pride-focused picture books that were published this year.
So very new.
Hot off the presses. All right. I think that's about what we've got.
Can I just do like a round of applause for our new hosts?
And this is where we put like thundering applause as a sound effect.
Yeah, very good job.
All right, and then I would like it if we could all say bye together.
In
Yeah.
unison, or?
I will count down from 3.
Thanks for listening to our podcast.
Bye!
Thank you for joining us today. Be sure to visit the Ocean County Library's website for more podcasts and events. All the titles mentioned in today's episode can be found throughout the Ocean County Library, free with your library card. Until next time, happy reading.